The combine is over. NFL free agency right around the corner. What are the Browns going to do? Some rumors, lots of QB drama, and lots of NFL draft talk coming up right now on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. The sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Cut back by Chubb. He's to the 10. He's still running to the 5. He dips outside left. He's going in. Touchdown. What a run. Nick Chubb.
It's going to be sick.
All right, everybody. How's everybody doing? The combine's done. One step closer to NFL free agency next weekend. This is where the Browns really need to strike gold. Really got to strike big, especially on that defensive line. We'll get into that. Make sure, folks, hey, click that notifications bell, click subscribe, leave comments, share the link. We always love that. Follow us on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, and on Instagram at AndyMCSports. So I want to get to a couple of the NFL rumors first. Going around this week, Nick Chubb trade rumors. Forget it. Wipe it off your mind. Not happening. People freaking out on Twitter. Nick Chubb's going nowhere, people. Okay, you know why Nick Chubb's going nowhere? Because you have to think of it from the coach and the GM perspective who are on the collective hot seat. You're not worried about 2026, 2025, not even really 2024. You have to win this year. You have to make the playoffs and probably win around to guarantee your job safety if you're Andrew Berry, the GM, and Kevin Stefanski, the head coach. You've played your cards as far as new coordinators. Okay? You got no bullets left in the chamber. Jim Schwartz, new defensive coordinator, right? We got our guy, Bubba Ventrone, in at special teams. So no excuses from the coordinator position. It's you. So why would you make your best player vanish in Nick Chubb on offense? You can debate Deshaun Watson, but right now it's Nick Chubb. For what, draft picks that you might not be here to take advantage of or pick? Makes no sense. Nick Chubb's going nowhere, okay? You're fine with Nick Chubb. I got from the combine too, guys. Old Andy was doing this summer. I got a notebook full of wide receivers for us. Now, that's assuming the Browns, again, hit that free agent defensive tackle line. Now, our guy, Daron Payne, just like Ross Tucker told us on the show a couple weeks back, he said, Andy, Payne's not making it to free agency. Commanders are going to tag him. Well, guess what they did? They tagged him. So Payne, the guy I wanted 25, he's gone. So now it's Javon Hargrave is really that top target coming from the Eagles. You have Fletcher Cox as well. But the trouble is that other teams probably want him too. So the Browns really have to hit it and hit it hard. Now, the other thing is the salary cap situation. Browns currently way over it. But as we know in the NFL, the salary cap's an illusion. It's magic. It's pixie dust. You know why? You just turn any salary into signing bonus. And as long as your owner is willing to pay it, which Jimmy Haslam has, and you know this just in, every NFL owner is really rich, then you just pay it and you go away. So watch for Deshaun Watson's contract to be paid out in salary at the NFL minimum, a couple $1 million, and then the rest of his 50 plus mil that's owed this year in signing bonus. So Deshaun gets his money up front. Who cares? It's fully guaranteed. And the Browns then would come 22-ish million under the salary cap. So now they're above it. They'll come below it. Won't be a problem. They need to do any more. They'll work out with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and give them some signing bonus money. John Johnson is going to be gone. Interesting, though, his number won't come off the cap until June 1st. So I'm a little confused with that, but that'll give the Browns time, I guess, after rookie signings and whatever to make some room that way. But John Johnson won't be back. So now we have to add safety to the Browns list of things to replace, right? You got Grant Delpit, who you getting to come in. Preferably in the Jim Schwartz defense, sideline to sideline guy, quick peripheral guy. Is that going to come in the draft? Well, not a ready starter. Not a ready starter. So you're going to have to go free agency, probably that route as well. Look for prove-it deals. You probably go get on the edge, opposite Myles Garrett, get another prove-it guy. But the defensive tackle's where you have to strike. Now, other NFL news. Okay, we got the quarterback carousel moving. Derek Carr signing with the Saints immediately on the Betfred Sportsbook. The Saints odd to win the NFC South made them the favorite with the Derek Carr sign plus 140. And right now, looking at the rest of the QBs, come on. I loved Desmond Ridder last year. I did for the Falcons. I think could develop into something good. But right now, this is the Saints division with Derek Carr. right? Is he a top 2 guy? No. Is he good enough to win that division that Tom Brady won under 500? Yes, he is. So plus 140 if you want to lay some money down on the Saints to win on the Betfred Sportsbook. Make sure you check that out too for Ohio. Link in the show description right here, folks. Click it. You get the big bonuses. You get matching bonuses. You get entered to weekly prizes. Just click on the link. If you're in Ohio, sign up for Betfred Sportsbook today. Now, some other news. Aaron Rodgers, of course, being wined and dined. The New York Jets flying out to New York. The Jets really going all in. Full court press. And good on Derek Carr. He was going to be the secondary price. He's like, nah, I'm making my decision. I'm doing it my way, and I'm going to pick my choice and go to the Saints. So now for the Jets, folks, who the Browns play this year, by the way, it's Aaron Rodgers, or you're stuck with Mike White, Joe Flacco, and Zach Wilson. And that's it. So if you don't make this happen, and it's twofold. You have to, one, make Aaron Rodgers love you and want to go to the Packers and say, trade me here. Then the Packers got to want to trade you there. So this is going to be really interesting to follow how that works out with Aaron Rodgers. But the biggest story, and it affects the Browns huge, of course, is Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, delicious is the word I would use, folks. Delicious, delightful, wonderful chaos, beautiful calamity in Baltimore. By the way, friend of show Tony Grossi from ESPN Cleveland asked Baltimore GM Eric DeCosta at the Combine, said, oh, you seem to have a blind spot for receivers. So do the Browns, And DeCosta said, I'm paraphrasing, but, well, if I knew the answer, I'd have better receivers. And the Baltimore receivers on their own went crazy on social media. Guy tweeted, took it away and all that. It was great dysfunction. You deserve it, Ravens. Burn. They deserve to feel the pain that as Browns fans have felt forever. I love it. I hope that continues. Now, the Lamar Jackson situation is fascinating. Okay, because Lamar Jackson, who doesn't have an agent, that's him and his mom. So that's fun in theory, but you could probably use, maybe Deshaun Watson's agent to navigate the waters a little bit for you and try to get you that guaranteed deal. So here's the problem I have. This has been driving me nuts all week. People say, oh, there's collusion in the NFL. These teams immediately saying they're out on Lamar Jackson. Well, if they don't have a good quarterback, why wouldn't they want him? It's not that they don't want Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is an upgrade on many quarterbacks, especially in the NFC and AFC South. But the problem is the guaranteed money. Okay? Now, we don't know the behind the scenes, but everything that we've heard is Lamar Jackson wants guaranteed money like Deshaun Watson, or he's not interested in talking to you. Okay? Now, if that is true, which we've been led to believe, Lamar Jackson is only interested in a fully guaranteed contract. Nothing. The Ravens have offered him a bunch of different contraption. No, fully guaranteed or nothing. And it looks like he probably wants more than Deshaun. Okay, that's what you want. That's fine. I want to be an astronaut and fly to the moon. We don't get everything we want in life, Lamar. Okay, we don't. And you're not getting all that guaranteed money. So these teams that are supposedly colluding, is it collusion or is it the fact that they don't want to pay an overrated, in my opinion, quarterback who's been more injury prone year after year, the last 2 years, can't stay healthy, has the same number of playoff wins as our guy Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson, by the way. Same number, one, as Baker Mayfield wants a fully guaranteed contract on a guy who cannot stay healthy. And by the way, didn't Patrick Mahomes on a whatever busted ankle, high ankle sprain, go and win himself a Super Bowl? Lamar Jackson mailed it in at the end of the year. Quit on his team for personal gain. You want that guy as your franchise quarterback with fully guaranteed money? Now, I'm not saying that the price isn't right. Normal contract. You go with Lamar Jackson, sure. Is he better than a lot of QBs that you can slot in, get you some good fantasy points, talk a lot of fantasy football on the show? Absolutely. But can he actually get it done when it counts in the playoffs? The answer so far has been no. And to be the best and to be a playoff winner, the best ability is availability, and he's not available. So is it collusion, or is it that these teams don't want to pay this guy all the guaranteed money? I think it's that they don't want to pay the guaranteed money. If Lamar Jackson's stance changed, it's like, hey, let's talk. Rearrange deals, whatever. Look, if you're a good quarterback, that's one of the only positions you do get all your money. Okay? If Patrick Mahomes was in this situation, is he getting a fully guaranteed contract? Hell yeah, he is. You know why? Won a couple Super Bowls. How about Josh Allen? He's won playoff games. How about Joe Burrow? Yep. Russell Wilson made a lot of money. They say, well, Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one. And before last year, looked like he was still an upper echelon quarterback. Even Kyler Murray. Now his money, playing video games and all that, that's a different story. But the bottom line is, Lamar, you haven't done enough to deserve it. Does Deshaun Watson deserve it? Probably not. But the Browns were desperate, and his agent got the deal done. The Browns were desperate, and they paid. They paid what they needed to pay to get their guy, and they did it. So they felt Deshaun Watson was worth that risk. All the draft picks, all the guaranteed money. Felt he was worth the risk. If the Ravens don't feel like Lamar Jackson is worth the risk, or any other team, that's the team's choice. What's the problem? I don't see where the collusion is. You don't want to pay fully guaranteed money to a guy who can't stay healthy and hasn't proven. And when a defense's strategy is still to make you throw the football, you don't deserve that much money. Now, no one deserves $200+ million, of course, right? But all things being equal in the NFL. So that's my take on it. I don't think he's going to get it. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens as far as does he stay in Baltimore? Does he sign another sheet? If you take away that guaranteed money option, folks, Lamar Jackson's getting signed quick. But he wants more than Deshaun. Okay. Well, again, want all you want. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. Russell Brown's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes at Russ NFL Draft. Covers the NFL, national scout for Cover One, regular on ESPN Radio, the Fanatic 102.7. So he'll join us. Now, folks, I got my combine notebook. Okay, I'm going to get into a couple of these guys with you first. The wide receivers with the Browns I'll get to. I want to make a point, though, first, while we're talking quarterbacks. Okay, this is another thing that was driving me a little nuts over the weekend. Bryce Young, and this is what I love about the combine, too. Everybody on the college site, they have their height, weight, and all that. But then you go to the combine, and it's the real stats. Colleges tend to build their guys up a little bit. Guys who are 6'2", all of a sudden turn out to be 6 feet. Answer me this. If you have the first overall pick, which the Bears could trade, of course, would you take, I'm just going to say the numbers here. Would you take a guy who's 5'10", 204 pounds? Would you take a guy who's 6'3", 215 pounds? Okay, starting point right there. Immediately, or I say, well, I want to learn more about this 6'3" fella. As do I. The problem is this. Bryce Young out of Alabama is 5'10", 204, soaking wet. That dude was in college under 200. He was eating some pasta beforehand. He was bulking up. Okay? Not to say he's not a great quarterback. Heisman winner. Fantastic. You know who else was the most passing yards in college football history at one point? Colt McCoy. I love Colt McCoy. But did he deserve to be a first overall pick? No. Does Bryce Young? No. I don't see that much of a difference when you look at NFL stepping forward as far as size between him and Stetson Bennett of Georgia. That dude's won national championships. And Stetson Bennett's an inch taller. 5'11". So now, Bryce Young, big arm, of course. Okay? Make all the throws. Somewhat mobile. But he's too short. He's an injury waiting to happen. First, can we not look at Kyler Murray as a perfect example of this? And you can point to all the examples you want. Russell Wilson's under 6 feet. Okay. Drew Brees is 6 feet. All right. Well, Bryce Young's not 6 feet. And Baker Mayfield was a shade under 6'1". He couldn't see over the line. So what's Bryce Young going to be doing? He's going to be looking around. He's going to be trying to find those lanes. He's going to roll it. Defenses are going to pin him. Eventually, they're going to catch him, and they're going to squish him like a bug. Okay? Now, I feel Bryce Young could probably be maybe the best day one starter out of this draft class before defenses figure him out. Get him in there, team. Maybe you're halfway through the year, then the injuries start going. Then they'll start pinning him in. The problem is if I say if you have too many ifs, there's a problem. Bryce Young has to be in a perfect situation. Now, before Derek Carr, New Orleans would have been great. Maybe Atlanta is a good spot. Warm weather, dome, indoor, weak division, speedy guys. You have to have a lot go right and build around specifically and then hope he doesn't get hurt. That's a lot of ifs for a first-round pick. Now, if you're talking to me, remember, Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick, okay? I would take Jalen Hurts as he was in college over Bryce Young today before I knew anything about Jalen Hurts. I take him today. So now we got Bryce Young, could be the first overall pick, didn't run, didn't do, at the combine. Or CJ Stroud, 6'3", 215. And here's the other thing, not just about the size. So both from big programs. But remember with CJ Stroud, first year, I remember it vividly. Coming in, first couple games, you're like, ooh, yeah, CJ Stroud ain't that good. Didn't look that good. And then he started getting better and better. And he was coachable. And he got coached up. And he had to do it every week on the national spotlight from the fans, from the country, from college football nation. Had to get better and learn. So what does that show me? It shows me progression each step. It shows me he can be coached. It shows me his talent, his mechanics, his footwork all got better. And so now when we look at CJ Stroud, you got some mobility. Now he could use that a bit more. He could run a bit more, but that's good. I can push that out of him. Make the throws at every level, right? And you look at the footwork. He's clean. Looks so, I know combine against air. Oh, is that smooth? Oh my God. Smooth delivery, combine. Everything was right with CJ Stroud. That's your first overall pick, CJ Stroud. Okay? And I would take the flyers on Will Levis, and I would take a flyer maybe even on Anthony Richardson, who can't read a defense to save his life, but good Lord, 6'4.5", 244 pounds, and can run a 4.40. I'm in love. I just don't see it. But you know what? We're going to talk some defense, some wide receivers, some more coming out of the combine, some draft out right now with my guy, Russell Brown, from Cover One, the Fanatic 102.7 ESPN. He's all over the place. Russ, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well, my friend. Hey, this is our, this is our favorite time of the year. We had the combine, we got to feel everything, see those drills and all that. NFL free agency, and then the NFL draft is coming. Big picture coming out of the combine. Did you have a couple of winners, risers? There's always a guy or two. Remember a couple of years ago, DK Metcalf shot up boards. Every year someone falls and rises. Anybody jump out to you?
Yeah, I mean, at the running back position, one player that kind of, I think, has fallen under the radar a little bit has been Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. He checked in at 6 foot 214. He ran a 4.5 340, 37-inch vertical. All those times are really good for a player of that size. And when you just watch him play, he is somebody that it kind of he's not Dameon Pierce by any means, but I think he's going to go in that range where I think a lot of people kind of forget about him, and he comes out and he just becomes kind of like a bell cow for a team. So with the way that he performed, I love that on tape. He shows this jump cutting ability, this elusiveness, some really good burst. Again, he'll run through defenders at ease. He can catch passes out of the backfield. So I really like what he does. Another running back, obviously, how can you not get excited about Devin Achane from Texas A&M? You're talking about just pure speed. And I know he's a sub 190 guy, but a 4.32, you're talking special teams, you're talking pass catching ability, the quickness, just that home run ability is great. But then, when you shift over to the defensive side of the football, I don't know what to make of Kalijah Kancey because of the short arms. I mean, we don't see a lot of guys that have short arms that succeed at that position. I mean, under 31 inches in his arm length is not great, but the tape is there, and you're talking super elusive in the interior. I mean, you saw just the 40 time in itself, a 4.67, but he's very explosive. He's got a great pass rush plan. He was somebody that seemed like he was locked to be a top 10 pick. I don't think he's going to necessarily be a top 10 pick, but I think, maybe first round he would make sense. But if he ends up slipping a little bit because of the arm length or what's his actual position, if teams are worried about that, I think he could fall down the draft board a little bit. And if we're talking about Cleveland, maybe it's enough for them to move up and look at a player like this. If you pair him next to like a Myles Garrett, I mean, that would be phenomenal for the Browns. Well,
and he was the guy getting the Aaron Donald comparisons from the combine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we remember Aaron Donald, if you go back, they showed the clips during it. It was like, wow, there's talent. But like you said, there was sort of those ifs. I don't know. And the arm length is one thing. It's all that's a big part of the combine, of course, Russ, right? It's like you take everything as a part of it. If a guy has short arms, then you say, okay, I make a note of that. How does he overcome that? Does he have leverage? Does he get low? This guy does that.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. And it's one of those where, again, he's more than likely going to go in the first round just from what we've seen, what I've been able to gather, and just off his tape. I mean, he's got first round tape. There's no doubt about it. It's just there's some limitations there. And it's, again, where's he ultimately going to play? Is he a 3 technique? Is he going to be strictly a 4-eye, a 5 technique as a defensive end and an odd front? So it's going to be very interesting to see where he lands. I think there's a lot of great fits in the first round for him. But again, as you look at the Browns, I mean, not saying that they have the luxury to move up, but I mean, if there's a guy that they really value, as we've seen, teams will pull the trigger and go get a guy. And I do wonder if a guy like Kancey would kind of be that guy, maybe not necessarily in particular, but guys like that, I think would be very interesting.
And really, for the draft, the next step to see where teams need to fill and what they might do comes with free agency, right? So that goes next week. So that'll be interesting. Couple on the defensive side. Boy, Russ, each year I get what I call my combine crush. And I'll tell you, I couldn't decide at linebacker if I love Drew Sanders or Will Anderson more. Oh my. Just monsters. That's why when people are like, oh, these short quarterbacks or whatever, they're fast. You're fast, but you're also going to get caught by Drew Sanders and Will Anderson, who runs a 4.640 and is going to eat you for breakfast. Like, these guys are absolute freak shows.
Absolutely. I mean, Drew Sanders was somebody that has been talked about a lot through this draft process as somebody that could very well shoot up into the first round conversation. Will Anderson, I mean, best player in the draft, I think. I don't understand how he's not. I understand the love with Jalen Carter, but you're talking about positional need and just the overall value for the position and how explosive he is for that. Plus, you got the blend of speed to power within his game. He is I don't want to say a generational talent, but I mean, when you talk about premier edge rushers, every draft class has 1 or 2 guys at the top of the list. Will Anderson is by far at the top of that list. But another name on the defensive side of the football, and kind of one of my draft crushes as we talk about linebackers, shifting away from Drew Sanders, Jack Campbell out of Iowa, 6'5", 250, ran a 4.65. I mean, you're talking 6'5", and then running a 4.65 in a straight line is impressive. But he gets a vertical jump of 37.5 inches, the 3-cone drill at 6'7", at that size to bring your center of gravity down and show the hip fluidity to change direction. It shows on tape. His pass coverage grade in Pro Football Focus was like a 92.1. So he can cover. He can change direction. He's going to run with tight ends. He'll be able to cover quite a few different types of backs out of the backfield. I think he's a day 2 talent, but he could be a plug and play type guy. And, I'm not exactly sure how high the list of needs or how we want to rank the needs for a team like the Cleveland Browns per se. But if a Jack Campbell ends up being there at 43, he might be a little bit too good to pass up just simply because how much talent he has, or even if he slips down the board a little bit, if you want to move up from like pick 99 in that 3rd round and maybe go get him, I think he is somebody to really circle because I think he's a plug and play guy at the next level.
I like that a lot. And that's really, again, do the Browns hit on a Javon Hargrave in the first round? In free agency. If you don't, then you're going to have to cycle back. Now, I want to touch quickly on quarterback with you, then get into some wide receivers, because if the Browns do address their defensive tackle needs in free agency, then you're probably going to be looking for that over-the-top burner when it comes to a wideout. But for quarterback, I got to get your thoughts on this guy. So Anthony Richardson, when it comes to quarterbacks, I think he shot up just based on the physical freak showness of it. Folks, for those who don't know, 6'4¼ inches in height, 244 pounds, ran a 4.44 second 40-yard dash. That's robot. That's an evolution. We've just seen humanity evolve in front of us, Russ, and we're not a part of it. Okay. Now, 100%. The comparison to Cam Newton, I think he can run through it. Now, he's raw. He can make every throw, but he can also not make every throw. He struggles reading defenses and all that. But man, at least he's not a little zippy guy who's super thin. And you can probably get away with just having him run through guys like Cam Newton did for the first few years and hope he develops.
100%. And I think one of the big things with him is just how he finished the year. His last 6 games for Florida, he really started kind of figuring it out. The turnovers went away. He only had 2 interceptions during that time. But really, when you watch him, I mean, there's so much to like. The way he navigates in the pocket, his ability to move from side to side, the way he avoids sacks and sure tackles out of the backfield. I mean, there's times he's throwing Jalen Carter off his shoulders and he's throwing the football away. I mean, that's impressive in its own right. Yeah. And you talk about the physical athlete that he is. I mean, the numbers speak for itself. To run that fast, to have that much explosiveness, it's crazy. I mean, and if he didn't play quarterback, you're talking about a guy that's probably going to play linebacker for a team and be probably a top 5 pick just because of the physical traits that he has. And that's going to be the case here at quarterback. And I think one of the biggest things for him moving forward is obviously being coachable. We already know that, it's important for these guys to learn the verbiage and the system that they're playing in. It's hard to learn that. We all think like, oh, well, if he goes here, it's going to be a home run. Well, I mean, there's still a lot that goes behind it that we don't all know. Mm-hmm. But for him on the field, it's touch and just anticipation. He doesn't throw with a lot of touch. He throws a lot of fastballs. And there's times just when I'm talking about touch is you watch the Georgia game, he's got a tight end running up the seam. And even though this tight end is wide open, he overthrows it by 5 to 10 yards. And it's like, if you had a little bit more touch, you didn't just throw off of more so your heels and you didn't rely heavily on arm strength like, DeShone Kizer did out of Notre Dame, all arm strength. And I know that's bad.
We know about Kizer.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, he relies on that stuff and it affects some throws. But I think he wants to be great. And it shows because you go back to even just this Georgia game, as I use an example. He has a wide open receiver in the middle of the field, and he ends up missing this receiver as far as ball placement. It's behind the receiver over here, but it's completed. It's a first down, but he's beating himself up because he wanted to hit him in the numbers so he could turn and go, and it didn't happen. So I think just seeing that on the field goes a long way, and I love the skill set from him. So I think he could very well be the first overall pick, to just kind of the way it's trending, just because I think there's too much to like for a team to pass up on him.
Wow. That would be something. For me, it would be CJ Stroud, but you're right with the athleticism. And if you think, and all these, offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, all that things, I can fix them, right? It's like in a bad relationship. I can fix them. I can fix it.
Yep.
Maybe you can, but it all depends on landing in that right situation. We've seen how crucial that is. Russ, I point to Josh Allen as a perfect example in that 2018 draft. Imagine if he went to the Jets or the Cardinals. He'd be Mitch Trubiskying. He'd be out. He was so raw, but he went to a stable environment in Buffalo, brought him along, and now he's a superstar. Depends on where you land. So that's going to be fascinating. That's interesting. But I want to get to wide receivers here with you. We got a few minutes left with you. So the Browns, I focused on looking at the combine. And this is an interesting receiver class to me because I don't think you have necessarily the top end star level like we've seen the last couple of years. But you have a lot of guys I think you can come in as like a solid number 3 and grow and be really good contributors. So the Browns are looking for a Deshaun Watson. What they don't have is a fast guy who can run down the field, but actually catch the ball, which they've had trouble with. Really fast and catch the ball. I don't care about route tree. Zip it, catch it, go. Is there I have names like Darius Davis, who I really like, but he's small, 5'8". I got a Bryce Ford Wheaton out of West Virginia, not a lot of production, but again, you look at the size, 6'4", 221, ran a 4.38 second 40. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like big and fast. Any of those guys, that kind of burner feel that you feel could be to the Browns second round or down?
Well, you mentioned one name, Bryce Ford Wheaton. He's really intriguing. He had a very good week at the Shrine Bowl, and a lot of people that I've interacted with from the Shrine Bowl really said that he impressed during the interview process, and there's a chance he goes a lot sooner than people think. And then you just see the combine, the athletic numbers are just through the roof. I mean, a 41-inch vertical, a 4.38 40. It's impressive from him. But the player, as you talk about for Deshaun Watson, to just be able to throw it vertically, the player that stands out to me, and I think as far as just overall value, I think between that 43 and pick 99 range, that player is Marvin Mims Jr. from Oklahoma. I think even though he's a little bit undersized at 5'11", 183, as you look at Bryce Ford Wheaton, as you mentioned, 6'4", 220, he's not necessarily that size, but he ran a 4.38, and it shows on tape. I mean, he can fly up the seam or on the outside, and I think his tracking ability is really underrated. You go back a few years ago, and I mean, he was he was on pace to go almost 100 receptions. I mean, that's how he was pacing himself. And just for yards per reception, he's at almost 19, almost 20 yards per reception. So it's very talented skill set from him. And I think he's somebody that even on 50-50 balls, like he can win those too. So I think he's a little bit under the radar, and just with the combine, he really stood out. And I think he would be a really good fit there. Another name, and I don't know if he's necessarily going to be somebody that they're really interested in just because of where they might have to take him. I don't know if he's going to be there at like 99. They might have to move up to get him, but that's Trey Palmer from Nebraska. As you talk about traits and tools, he's got all of that. Like with Will Levis, that's a big thing we talk about, tools and traits. There's so much to do with him. Trey Palmer, I think that's kind of the same thing. He's got a lot of just straight line speed, a former track star. He ran the 100-meter dash as somebody, in high school at 10.41 seconds. But I think the case here with him is that there's just so much potential because he was a top recruit coming out at one point. So I think there's hope that, hey, as we talk about like quarterbacks, let my coaching staff get my hands on him and polish him. I think it's the case here with Trey Palmer. So I do wonder if like 99, pick 112, if that might be kind of the sweet spot. And I think it would be a really good fit because that would kind of be like almost, I don't want to say Donovan Peoples-Jones 2.0, but it would be kind of almost like a kind of a 1A, 1B type of thing. And I think that'd be a really good complement to each other.
Kind of like a pure speed, faster version of Donovan Peoples-Jones. Exactly. And that's the thing. Russ, you said time to develop, which you can do if what you're expecting out of the rookie is run that fly. Just stretch the defense. That's it. Yeah. You got Amari Cooper to run those ankle breaking routes. You got DPJ. You got Njoku. You have Chubb. I don't need the rookie to be doing any complicated skinny posts. I need to run that way and catch it when it comes to you. I'm glad you said Marvin Mims. I have that's like the star and check mark beside his name for me too. And punt returner. You get that bonus, which the Browns could always use too.
Yeah, and another guy that if you want kind of instant impact as far as punt return or kick return, I will pull the homer card here, the little bias that I have towards a Michigan State Spartan, but that's Jaden Reed out of MSU. I mean, he's probably a solid day 3 pick, late day 2 pick for a team. He ran a 4.45, but he's got great tracking ability. I mean, it's A+ tracking ability. He showed it at the Senior Bowl. And while again, he doesn't have the massive size like other receivers, 5'11", 187 is just fine for a slot receiver, kind of gadget type player. And I think he's somebody that can run those go routes, those fly routes, and he can do some stuff in the short, intermediate areas of the field. You talk about pre-snap motions. If that's something that the Browns really want to incorporate moving forward, you have a guy like Jaden Reed. He can do a lot of orbit motions, jet motions. So I think it's great. I think it would be a great addition to their offense if they went that route. They've gone, they've looked at some Michigan State Spartans in the past. So maybe this is something that they do. And it's not too far away. It's right up the road.
It's right up the road. One other name I wanted to throw by you. Guy I've been tracking the last few months. And, granted, my viewership of Princeton football, but not where it needs to be, Russ. Yeah, didn't catch too many Princeton games. Andrei Yashevich. I noticed him a few months ago. I'm like, okay, I'm going to track this guy. But I wanted to kind of see the speed because although I didn't need a guy who was just kind of fast because I have that in DPJ, right? Mm-hmm. So the speed came back. I got 4.43 second 40, which is really good. 39-inch vertical, 6'3", and 1/8 inches, 205. Now, if that speed, and when you watch game film, like he looks fast, if that actually translates to someone that can truly stretch a defense, I think that's somebody who will naturally get a knock because of competition in Ivy League. But the Browns also, the front office and coaching staff, Russ, they're all eggheads from Harvard and all that. So the Princeton thing could connect. Maybe he becomes a day 2, day 3 guy.
Absolutely. I mean, he was somebody, a former track and field guy at the NCAA level, ran the fastest ever 60-meter, 6.71 seconds. So the speed is for real. I think he's, with his size, he might be limited to maybe more of a kind of a prototypical X receiver, but he might be able to play in the slot a little bit just because of the speed and the explosiveness. And if you get him in slot fades and those types of situations, it should really work out for you. The hope is that he can polish his route running ability at the next level, but really focus on concentration, catching with his hands, not catching with his body and trapping it in. And that's a big thing with him. And he showed it at the Senior Bowl. Like there was times where he'd flash the consistency of catching with just his hands and away from his body. And there were times that he was trapping it in. So those are big. And it's key because when you have guys that trap it, they're just more prone to drop it because it's bouncing off shoulder pads. It's easier for a defensive back to kind of punch through your body and through your arms that way. Whereas if you're securing it with your hands, it's just different. So I'm glad you brought him up because he has kind of fallen under the radar a little bit. Going to be a day 3 pick. I'd be a little bit surprised if he went sooner than that. But when you have as many day 3 picks as the Browns have, you might be able to find some value there at 127 or 145 or somewhere along those lines. So he's an interesting study. He was one of the first receivers I watched during the draft process because I had seen that he was on the Senior Bowl list. And I was like, let me find out more about this guy. So he's very intriguing. And I think, as you mentioned, the ties to the Ivy League, that could very well do it for the Browns.
Very last one for you. Jalin Hyatt, Tennessee. Does he make it past the first round? Because I want him if he does.
I personally think he does. I don't even think he's the best Tennessee receiver. I think Cedric Tillman is the better receiver. And that's just more so preference. I like guys that can run fast in a straight line. I love that with Hyatt. I love the spacing that he runs his routes as far as how he's able to create separation and that spacing from defensive backs. And he has a good read of the soft zone coverages that he's running his routes in. But Cedric Tillman has just this 50-50 catchability that other receivers in this draft class don't have.
Yeah.
And I think if I had a preference, I would take Tillman. But I think if Hyatt falls into the second round, he's not going to last for very long. I mean, there's just so many teams there. Pittsburgh, Houston, you throw Indianapolis into the mix, the Rams. There's just too many teams there that could really benefit to a Jalin Hyatt. But if he does end up falling, I mean, it would be that obviously it sounds like a dream come true for you.
Man, take off the top defense, somebody you have to scheme against, right? Like the guy, he just has a lot of tools. Knows for I have 15 touchdowns. You know, the guy's, I think he could be. But you're right. Tillman goes first. You know, a couple of things happen. All of a sudden, you're on day 2 and you get a value pick. So, but Russ, we go forever with these names. I'd love to have you on again closer to the draft, and we sort of pick things apart post free agency. But tell people you're everywhere. Where can people find your work?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft. There's all types of stuff coming down the pipeline from just draft content, breaking down players, video breakdowns, and my draft guide should be out first or second week of April. It will be free to download, so you guys can check that out on my Twitter page at Russ NFL Draft. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Russ, I forgot about that. Guys, Russ's NFL Draft guide, top notch. Absolutely. All right, brother. Good stuff. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. We'll talk to you.
All right. There he goes. Russell Brown talking NFL draft prospects. I want to talk a little bit more about these. I get so excited about the combine, guys. I do. I'm a combine junkie, anybody who knows me. So this Jalin Hyatt I was telling you guys about, Tennessee, some measurables. Okay. And Cedric Tillman, I like. He's 6'3". He was injured a little bit. So hopefully he does. I'm talking about guys for our Cleveland Browns purposes. So I don't want Cedric Tillman because he doesn't give me the super speed that I need. Okay. Overall, just as a talent, yes, he's amazing. But for Jalin Hyatt, 6 feet, 176, a bit lean, but tall. Like I said, take the top off defense. I'm reading my notes here. Speed. And here's the other part. You want fast, but can you get separation? Are you fast? Can you pull away? Yes, for Jalin Hyatt. You can use him in sweeps. Nose for the end zone, 15 touchdowns. He's a willing blocker. So that's good too. Not physical and contested catches. So that's, is it a red flag? I don't know. How often do I want him I want him pulling away and catching it in stride. You want some physicality, but I'm not super concerned about that. That might, if he's there when the Browns pick at 42, that's the guy I'm taking. 4.14, like that's a difference maker. Another name I liked coming out of the combine, Matt Landers of Arkansas. So we talked about the size of Bryce Ford Wheaton. I think you can get that guy in like the 4th round, and it's going to be a steal if he's coachable. Underwhelming stuff, but all the measurables, my goodness. Matt Landers, Arkansas, 6'4", 200, 4.37 second 40. Stop it. These guys, these receivers, how are you 6'4", 200 pounds and you could run faster than a guy who's 5'8"? It's wild. And here's what I like. Long strides, pull away speed. Reminds me a bit of Josh Gordon in that regard. Doesn't necessarily look like he's going fast, but then you're like, oh, he's gone. Whoa. Long strides, pull away speed. Gets that separation. Tracks the deep ball well. Deshaun throwing it up, little over the top, tracks the ball well. So unrefined route runner. But again, I don't care about an unrefined route runner. I want a guy who can run fast, get the ball. He can do that. Developing catch technique. It can lead to some drops. That's why you're not a first round pick necessarily. But as long as you feel comfortable with that, he's got the wow, size, and speed. You can get him a little bit later. And one more guy to throw at you. Antoine Green out of North Carolina. 6'1 and a quarter, 199, 4.48 second 40, which somehow sounds slow, but is still really fast comparing it to these other guys, right? So 6'1, 199, sprinting and long jump / triple jump background. So track and field guy, has the footwork and all that. Vertical downfield specialist, average 19 yards a catch. Very good sideline foot tap awareness. That's something else I noticed there and going back and watching some film. Very aware of the sideline. Does that toe drag swag type of thing. Deep ball sideline throw. You want that. That's what you need from there. Overtakes deep coverage. Will build up speed. So he'll start fast, but then can go faster. And yeah, basic route running, but for deep passes, he's fine. So Antoine Green, that's another guy. Keep our eyes on. Zay Flowers, I like too. 5'9", 182. And some concentration drops has me a little concerned. But man, there's a lot of names. Oh my gosh. I could talk all day about it. And we will continue to talk. Next week's show, though, free agency. Who do the Browns get? Who do they get? Can we get Hargrave? We need defensive tackle, people. Andrew Berry hits on this free agent class. Or don't rule out a trade either. Remember that Amari Cooper trade came around this time last year. No one saw it coming. So don't rule that out. But you get that D-line solidified. Oh, I wanted to talk one more safety on defense, because now with John Johnson gone, need a safety. So somebody you might be able to get a little bit later. Safety Jair, J-I-A-Y-I-R Brown. Jair Brown, Penn State. Ball hawk. 5'11", 203, 4.65 second 40, so not bad. 10 interceptions, 3 forced fumble over the last 2 seasons. Ball hawk. I like it. I want to see in the drills the sideline to sideline a little bit. I think he could be a guy who you could at least add. Day one starter, tough to say, but he's got those tools you can work in and he can grow as a mid-round draft pick. So that's somebody else on defense to keep an eye on. I really like too. Nolan Smith, he won't be there for the Browns. Brian Bresee probably won't be there either, but he looks good as well. Caleb Murphy, 22.5 sacks. Those are some guys. They'll probably be gone, but hopefully the Browns address all that in free agency and we can focus on receiver and those others kind of value picks. So very interesting. Hey, make your NFL future picks, folks, at Betfred Sports, Betfred Sportsbook, right? You can go right now, Betfred Sportsbook. You can pick division winners, Super Bowl favorite, MVP, comeback player of the year, whatever. Check all that out in the link down below. Click on it. You get these sweet bonuses. They change them all the time. You get these sweet matching bonuses. You get entered into weekly draws. As the season gets closer, it's going to be great too. Takes 2 seconds. The customer service, phenomenal. So make sure, sign up there. Check out the team shop as well for the show. Got some great fantasy football and Browns gear there too. So check that out all in the link below. Thank you so much to Russell Brown. So for Sammy, for us, I'm Andy McNamara. What a week. Free agency next week, people. Get ready. The draft is coming. Free agency is coming. We'll see you next week on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. Go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.